Hello, everybody. My name is Sarah, and this is Pearls of Wisdom and Food with Keto. I'm just finishing up my super coffee, the dark roast. It's great. I love it. It's become my first cup of the day. I enjoy that. I hope everybody is doing well into the frenzy of all of it. And, I was reading a lot of the comments in the last week or so about how people approached, did, and felt after Thanksgiving. And one of the comments that really resonated with me is that this woman indulged, she enjoyed, and hopped back on to 20 carbs or fewer the next day. How simple is keto, right? It's just we are so blessed to be able to have such easy ways to get back on track. And I just stopped thinking about that. But after I read that, I thought, wow, this lady has a great program, 20 carbs or fewer. It's satisfying. You can still get some good veggies, cottage cheese, even a yogurt, things like that, you know, satiate, make you feel good, comfortable, full. I love all of that. I really, truly do. I just got done listening to a 2 hour interview with Gary Taubes, and he's so brilliant that I know I have to listen to this all over again because I miss so much. And the person interviewing him asked such poignant, super intelligent questions. And, she kept apologizing for her naivete. And he kept saying it's the naivete that's, basically charming. And I'm delighted to answer because it shows that you're paying attention to what I'm saying, what I'm writing, all of the things that I'm saying here. And that made him feel good because sometimes people just kind of push their agenda at him. And because he's a research scientist that writes a lot about these things, the carbs and sugar and calories, and the case for keto, is that he believes that, of course, doing research, that you can find anything that you want and color the one side and cherry pick basically and never address the other side. So there's no getting to the even, or it's all been explained. Now you make your decision about what works for you. So many people with it's almost like they're cases. They're trying to prove and defend their belief when they write the diet books, when they, you know, go on interviews, when they do these special diets that they're hoping that people will buy into, and they're not really presenting the other side. And Gary isn't satisfied with that, never has been. That's because, he's a researcher and he just wants to see what the truth is. And sometimes it's so hard for somebody like him who is so nitpicky in a delightful, perfect way to see that indeed there is a whole other side to the story that hasn't been presented. And for all of us, being n equals 1, meaning that we're our own experiment, we have to see what works for us, what our body will tolerate, what we can, for lack of a better phrase at this moment at 4 in the morning, get away with, right? And it's not getting away with something, it's what our bodies will tolerate. And so a lot of us lost weight with keto, and then we just kept cruising along, maybe maintaining our weight, maybe having, more of you could go up this much and then down this much, and basically wanting to know a little bit more about what it is that's making your body go up. I'm always fascinated with inflammation and how it affects us. And I know that when I'm naughty, my body certainly tells me. My fingers will be glued together. I can't separate them. It's kind of weird. I have to do that. Sometimes my toes, cramps, and most recently, like in the last 2 months, I've experienced heartburn situation versus any other time in my life. And so, I don't know what exactly causes it. It's what I'm not being 100% keto. And so the whole thing is fascinating in figuring out what does work for you, what makes you happy, what makes things like this. My feelings about food, my obsession with food, my constant like thinking about food has never really left me, no matter what program I'm doing, no matter what level of comfort I am with my food choices. And it's just fun to go to another house yesterday, um, as I record this and celebrate the holiday and see how other people eat. And I worked very, very hard on not having anything until we sat down to the dinner. And I watched all the people with all the apps. And, I've always had these. I started in Overeaters Anonymous when I was, well, what, I was like 26 to 28, one of those years. And I remember we met in a bank basement, and I learned fascinating things about myself and my relationship with food, and it will always be my comfort, my blanket, my binky, my it will always be those things because I grew up in an alcoholic house as an only child, and there was no food. And so, as many of you know, I began to babysit at a young age, and I would just eat the food because there was food. And, I was addicted to sugar, so I'd babysit for these kids, and I'd take the money that I made for babysitting, and there was a penny candy store near the playground. Well, wasn't that a big deal? Whoop-de-doo. And so, every dentist in all of my 71 years has always said, man, you've got a lot of fillings. It was like, uh-huh, I do, because sugar was easily available to a young girl babysitting, and of course the kids would come in tow, and spending 25 cents on candy back in the 60s was like huge. You could get so much. And I ate like a pig, and I was a pig. And so that began my relationship with the deadly sugar. And of course, then I branched out when I got older. But I always compensated for the lack of food in the house by overdoing with sugar, carbs, and just overeating in general. And so it was just interesting yesterday. Some of the things that I brought from Overeaters Anonymous in my 20s, so I've had these tips for like 50 years, is that I don't eat when standing up. I don't, do apps anymore. And which is funny because apps mean, apps on your phone, right? And and so I was just watching people do all this noshing before the meal itself. And I just, I sat still. I had my Gerolsteiner water, and I didn't have any of the healthier, munchies that were being served before the meal. So when I sat down to the meal, oh my God, I savored it. I loved it. It was great. And then I had a little bit extra broccoli casserole afterwards. I'd never made one before, and it tasted so good. And I had that for like seconds. I didn't have anything else for seconds. And it was so funny because everybody was long gone by the time I finished. They couldn't wait me out. And they'd been eating the entire time. And it was just like I was so full watching them eat all this and stand up. And, it was kind of like this mindless 2 hours while we socialized and waited for the food. And I had to sit tight. So my mind was very, very busy because I wanted the food and I wanted it done. I wanted it to be hot, and I want just all the things that a foodie does when, and being at somebody else's house, of course, I was like, you know, polite, social, step back. 9 people didn't need to tell anybody how to cook something, warm something up, slice the turkey, make the gravy. I wasn't needed. I brought the things that I brought, which was an onion casserole, a broccoli casserole, sweet potatoes, and 2 loaves of quick bread. And that was what Greg and I brought to the party. And, other people, there was the green bean casserole. I never, was attracted to that. Never wanted it, never made it, never will. The broccoli one though, definitely. And but anyway, there was apple pie for dessert, I guess. Yeah, my son made apple pies, and I wasn't real. There was it was oh, the pie was good, and then my stepdaughter brought oatmeal cookies that were good, and that was it. You know, there weren't pumpkin pies, there weren't squashes on there was no real display of veggies except the two casseroles. And so it was a little bit different than how I would have done it, and that's totally okay. I will make up for the steamed broccoli, baby butter salad, those sort of things. You know, now that I'm back home post party, and so anyway, it's just interesting getting the comments, reading the comments, and seeing that all we have to do is count carbs, and we can be back on track. So easy, is it? Or so simply, I should say. Is it easy? Not always, but it is so simple. There's no magic to how we do our keto. We know it's a success. We know if we've been on it for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years since it's been around, the success that we can have with it. And we can, just like that, it's not a new Weight Watcher program. It's not a new diet. It's not a new thing with gadgets that take your blood sugar and you can't have this or that after having it. There's nothing fancy or technical. It's just about keeping your total carbs low. What a gift. What a gift. And we can still have fats, and we can still have veggies, and we can still fit in something with our amount of total carbs. Net carbs were always scary to me and very, very slippery. So I tend to remain in my head a total carb person. I tend to remain in my head veggies cooked simply, either steamed with nothing or like in the salad cold, and with just a good fat like ghee or butter or avocado oil, macadamia nut oil, even EVU at some point, but I'm not attracted to that. Cooking in coconut oil, cooking in the ghee on top of the stove, or baking something. We are so blessed with this keto food program. And OMAD was the biggest game changer for me. The clean intermittent fasting, meaning just black coffee, and for me, mineral water, nothing flavored, no flavored coffee, no flavored water, and the carbs low. It's such a blessed gift. And that's how I feel today. And I hope you have a great Friday and a great weekend, and feel as blessed to have the keto food program in your life with some sanity. Every day I ask for food sanity, food abstinence, and food sobriety. Food sobriety, food sanity, food abstinence, but the sanity about it, because I'm always quieting the head. The head is very, very naughty, can be very, very naughty, and I have to like always redirect, and think of the wonderful keto foods that are satiating, that work, that fill me up, that calm it all down, that help me maintain my weight. It's that simple. It's not always easy, but it is that simple, and I have to remember it. And I have to remember how grateful I am for this community, all of you out there that have like kept me afloat emotionally and with my weight and maintenance and all, just the busy, the crazy for all these years. I couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you here the next time on Pearls of Wisdom and Food with Keto. My name is Sarah. Bye bye for now.